All right, well, I think we have a good chunk of our participants logged in now, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you are really well and comfy at home and enjoying your time. We're going to get started. My name is Amanda Breslin. I am the Assistant Director of Transfer Admission with the Office of Admission, and I will let Tracy from our School of Nursing introduce herself.
Hi everybody, I'm Tracy Pitt. My official title is, it's a long one, it's the Associate Director of Advising, Admission, and Student Support in the School of Nursing at PLU. So part of my job is to welcome prospective students, teach them about the program, and so that's what we're going to be doing today.
Great. Well, I think we'll just get started with Tracy's presentation.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move through this PowerPoint that I have. Please, like Amanda said, feel free to use it's the Q&A, right?
Yep.
The Q&A feature to go ahead and ask your questions. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So again, welcome everybody. Here's a few just basics about our nursing program. It is a 3-year nursing program, so we sometimes call it a 1+3 model, where students coming in for their first year at PLU will do their first year of prerequisites, they'll do some general education requirements, and then they'll start the nursing major in their sophomore year and complete it in the course of 6 semesters or 3 years. Students will begin the nursing major in either fall or spring of their sophomore year, so the nursing major can be completed in either 4 or 4.5 years at PLU. It is a cohort model, meaning that you will enter the School of Nursing with 48 students or 47 other students, 48 total, and you'll move through the program together. The curriculum is designed in a way that's very progression-based, meaning that you take a certain set of classes at one time together with your cohort, and then when you're done with those classes, you take the next set of classes, and it's very a very prescribed curriculum that you move through together. And there's really not a ton of jumping ahead or falling behind in the curriculum. You move through at one pace, and so it's all going to be a full-time paced program. Once you get into your junior and senior year, there's like all nursing classes all the time. But let me show you what the curriculum looks like for, at least for your first year or so at PLU. I'll start with the fall of your freshman year. You'll take Anatomy and Physiology 1. That's a standard class that all pre-nursing students take at PLU, including Psychology 101. And then you'll also add in 1 to 2 additional general education courses, typically our freshman writing seminar, Writing 101, and then maybe a PE class or another general ed class or something that you find interesting. And then you'll head into January term. We call it J term. We have a special 1-month term at PLU where you could take one course that's 4 credits in the span of 4 weeks instead of spreading it out through the semester. So, and it's also a really great flex time for students. There's a lot of really great study away opportunities during January term. The School of Nursing is pretty flexible during J term. There's no specific nursing classes that you ever really have to take. So we want you to use that opportunity to take general ed courses or study away. And then spring, you're heading into Anatomy and Physiology 2. There's another nursing prerequisite called Chemistry of Life that you would be taking, and then again some more general ed courses so that you can get some of those core PLU classes done. And then when you would head into nursing in your sophomore year, you're taking some more co-requisite courses such as developmental psychology, microbiology, and statistics. And so in that sophomore year, you're starting the nursing program with one class that's not listed there. Is the first class you'd be taking in nursing is called Nursing 220, Nursing Competencies 1. So you would add that class in with some of your co-recs. I'll note that if you're coming in with some college credit, either from a community college, or if you've got IB, AP classes or classes like that, your schedule might look different than this, and that's okay. Each student will work individually with an academic advisor to determine a good first year schedule for you. So if you have some of these classes done already, that's okay. We'll find a great schedule for you for that freshman year. So a little bit about the life of a nursing student and the time commitment involved. Anywhere that you would go for nursing, it's going to be an academically rigorous program, and PLU is no different. It's a very full-time major. It's one of the most credit-intensive majors that we have at PLU, being a 3-year program. It includes classes, labs, and clinical. You are going to be off campus 2 to 3 days a week, depending on the term that you're in, which is really exciting to be off campus and clinical, but it does make you a very, very busy student. Of the terms that you're in the nursing school are completely full-time with nursing. But even though our students are very busy, they still have time to really have a good, well-rounded experience at PLU by maybe pursuing a minor. We definitely want students to be able to explore different areas of interest and, take classes that they might be interested in taking if they've got time for it. We really want to support students for study away courses in J-term. There's lots of really great offerings that come out every year. And so that's one reason we don't have a ton of nursing classes in J-term, is so that you can have the opportunity to study away if you'd like to. Plenty of our students are athletes. We have a lot of students who play all kinds of sports: football, softball, swimming, soccer is a big one. So lots of our students will be able to balance sports and nursing. We do say that students are students first. They're student athletes. And so sometimes students do have to prioritize their nursing education over sports, but plenty of students can get through all 4 years in their sport with some adjustments and accommodations working with their coach. Plenty of our students are involved in extracurriculars activities. There's lots of clubs and organizations that our students get involved with. One is our specific nursing club. It's called Delta Iota Chi. Once you're a declared nursing major and in the program, you can join this service-based club. And it's also a professional club, and so students will get volunteer hours. They'll bring in speakers to their meetings, and it's a really great way to network with other nursing students as well. And then I'll add that plenty of students work. Lots of our students have jobs either on campus or off campus. So like I said, they're really busy. We recommend that students don't work any more than 20 hours a week, but we definitely want to support students with all these different things that they want to do in college while balancing the nursing major, even though they're going to be really busy. So why PLU nursing? What makes us different? What makes us a great program? I will highlight our retention and NCLEX pass rates. If you are trying to do some research into nursing programs, these 2 points are, I think, really important to be looking into. Retention is going to tell you the rate at which students actually finish the nursing program. Ours has been over 90%. And I say in the last 4 years, but honestly, I would say more like 10 plus years. It's pretty rare that we have a student in the nursing program who doesn't end up graduating. And it's usually something personal with that student. It's not like we weed out our students once they enter the nursing program. Once you start with us in nursing, we really want you to finish, and we do everything we can to support you to graduation. And then you'll see something called the NCLEX pass rate. If you don't know what this is, the NCLEX is the board exam that you must take in order to become a nurse. You don't just automatically get to become a nurse once you graduate from a BSN program. You have to take the test. And nursing programs are measured by this rate, this first time pass rate by the most recent graduating class. So our average there in the last 4 years has been 94%. And then I'll also just anecdotally say that in the past 10 or so years, we've been at least 90% of our graduating class passing the test on the first try. And the nationwide average is, not terrible. It's mid 80s, upper 80 percentiles in there. And so we are above that national benchmark, which is really exciting. So that does tell you that you have a pretty high likelihood of passing that test on your first try as a PLU graduate. I'll highlight some just employment points. I think it's pretty common of in-person nursing programs to have a great employment rate, but 100% of our graduates who are looking for work after graduation are employed within 6 months. which is really exciting. There's a huge need for nurses out there, and so our students really don't have a huge problem looking for a job. I'll also point out that we have a special class in your last semester of nursing. It's called Professional Foundations 2. It revolves completely around getting you ready to enter the workforce and finding a job. So there's built into that class is resume work. They bring in recruiters from big hospital agencies. They practice their elevator speeches and handshakes and things like that, interview skills, to get you ready to start looking for work. And a lot of our students will already have a job secured by the time they are walking across the stage at graduation. So that's really exciting too. I'll highlight our clinical experience as well. Our students complete about 700 hours of on-site and virtual clinical experiences. Vast majority of those hours are on-site at nearby hospital agencies. You'll get a ton of experience working at a big hospital. You'll go to clinical in different areas every semester in different clinical areas. So you might have your OB clinical in one setting, and then maybe you would do your mental health clinical at Western State Hospital or something like that. So you'll really go all over and get a ton of different clinical experiences. You'll be in a small group for clinical, about 8 or 10 students in that small group with one faculty on site with you. And again, we partner with a ton of different agencies all over the South Sound. The majority of our placements are within 30 miles of PLU, so we try to keep you as close to Tacoma as possible for your clinical rotations. And then advising. So our students are mentored by our experienced faculty. PLU has an advising model where when a student is declared in a certain major, they have a faculty advisor, which I think is really important. I think advisors like me can help students figure out what classes to take and understand some PLU policies, about what classes they're supposed to be in. But our faculty can really help mentor students in the field of nursing. How are you doing in your classes? How are you progressing through the program? What's been your favorite clinical experience? What kind of setting do you see yourself working in? Things like that can really help students get ready to transition their skills they learn at PLU into the workforce. Plus they have really great access to our faculty that way, with their advisor being a faculty member. So that's just a little bit about what I think is really exciting about our PLU nursing program. I'm going to head into the admission process a little bit. I know that some of you out there might already be admitted to the School of Nursing, and some of you might have something called conditional admission, and some of you may not. So I'm going to go over all of this and talk about what it means first to be offered conditional admission. So I know some of you have been offered conditional admission either for fall or spring of your sophomore year. And so what that means is you already have a seat in the School of Nursing for your sophomore year, which is really cool. That means you don't have to apply to the major. You can keep that seat in the School of Nursing by entering full-time at PLU and completing all of your PLU courses before you enter the program your sophomore year with a grade of B or better on the first attempt. So we do need that solid B in your courses before you start in nursing. You'll need to complete all of your remaining prerequisites and co-requisites at PLU. If you already have completed any of our prereqs or co-reqs like statistics, psychology, any of those classes, we will transfer those into PLU and you don't have to repeat them. But any remaining PLU or any remaining pre or co-requisite courses, you'll need to take at PLU. And then we have standards of good conduct, academic honesty, clean criminal history, things like that. There is an exhaustive list. And if you were offered conditional admission, you were sent a link to respond to that. It's kind of a long, it's a little bit of a long website right there, plu.edu/nursing/conditional admission agreement. But you should be able to find that link in your email to be able to respond to that conditional offer. And that way we'll know you're coming and you can look at all of those conditions for that conditional admission. So if you have questions about that, let us know. I definitely will have time to answer questions at the end. But let's move into the folks who might not have conditional admission. Most students who come to PLU for nursing don't have conditional admission. And so there's a lot of students who are going to be applying for admission to the nursing program during their first year at PLU. So in about December, January, you'll be working on the application to get into the nursing major, and our deadline for that is February 1st. Our minimum criteria, you'll see there, B- in the pre and co-requisites, 3.0 cumulative GPA, and you'll need to write a few essays for us and do some letters of recommendation for your application. And then you would find out if you're in the nursing major at the end of your first year at PLU. Okay, that's all the official information I wanted to share. Is it okay if we move to questions, Amanda?
Yeah, let's do that. So as a reminder,
great.
if you haven't submitted a question yet, if you just kind of hover over the screen, you'll see a Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. You can submit your questions there. The first one that we have here is, so what happens if you don't get into nursing or you lose your conditional admission status? What happens then?
Oh, sure. So we recommend that students work really closely with their academic advisors in that first year to determine a plan for that. And so that's going to look different depending on you as a student. If there's another area of interest you have at PLU, we would highly encourage you to make a plan to pursue that if you're not admitted to the nursing major. Some of our students might make a plan where they can apply the following year, and that's totally okay too. If you do lose your conditional admission by not earning a B or better in all your classes, you definitely have the opportunity to apply to the School of Nursing, just as those who don't have conditional admission.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question that we have is it recommended that a student gets their CNA before trying to get into the program?
Good question. I get that one a lot. We don't have a requirement that students have their CNA. That's a really common question because I think other programs do have that requirement. You know, that's going to depend on you as the student as well. I'm not going to officially recommend that because you're going to learn a lot of those CNA skills in Nursing 220, which is your first nursing class with us. I would say that if you haven't had any experience or exposure to the healthcare field at all, and you have the opportunity to pursue the CNA, do it. Because I think that's going to be a good personal experience for you, and it's going to help solidify that you want to work in healthcare, you want to be a nurse, because sometimes there can be a disconnect between wanting to be a nurse and really experiencing some of the things that actually happen in healthcare, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I get that. All right, so next question we have is, what if you don't know if you want to major in nursing or something else in the medical field? What is a way to kind of explore that or help you figure out if this is actually what you want?
Yeah, you know, the first thought I have is jumping back to that CNA question from before. I mean, you might want to look into getting your CNA, and you can explore that, I think, at any community or technical college. I think Clover Park, TCC, I believe, has a program, and there's a lot of private programs out there, and you can do, I think, a good portion of it online. It might be a 6-week program that you can do over the summer. That would be my first suggestion. You'll really want to get as much experience you can in those fields that you're considering, because both pursuing nursing and pursuing pre-med, those are kind of a big commitment as far as what your academic plan is going to look like. And it's really going to help you out a lot if you know which one you want to go for. If you're still unsure, I would say start out as a pre-nursing major, because it's easier to move away from a nursing major and do something else than it is to go backwards in time and try to get all the classes you need for nursing in. Because if you don't realize until later that you want to do nursing, you might be adding a little bit more time to your academic plan.
Yeah, with those specific prerequisites and co-requisites that you're looking
Exactly.
for. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the CNA options, there are a ton of them in the Tacoma proper area and surrounding communities. So you can, yeah, that's a great way to get kind of feet wet in the medical field, and you get to kind of see what other professionals are out there and doing. So that's really a good option for sure. There's also a ton of volunteer opportunities in
Oh, that's right.
the area too. So
Thanks, Amanda. I didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, getting your exposure to healthcare settings and patient care, that actual experience of working with patients going through medical issues is really good learning experience as well. So next question we have is it possible to double major in nursing or have a minor?
Yeah, I would say definitely. And I hate that I'm always saying it depends on the actual student, but this one definitely depends on the individual student. I would say that could depend on the amount of college credit that you're bringing into the School of Nursing. Some of you, I'm sure, have quite a few credits from your community college that you took during high school. You might be coming in with a lot of IB classes or AP classes, and coming in with some of that college credit could create quite a bit of room in your schedule to pursue classes that you're going to find interesting that are, besides nursing. So if you've got quite a bit of credit, we absolutely want you to pursue a minor or a double major. We really value a well-rounded education at PLU. So if you've got a lot of credit coming in, absolutely. Even if you don't have a ton of credit coming in, work with your advisor when you get here, or contact me. I'm happy to work with students on trying to figure out if they can fit in a minor. But yeah, it depends on who you are as a student, and I would highly recommend to work with your advisor on that.
Yeah, for sure. And if that's something that, if we have any juniors here or seniors who are still, looking at classes, starting with your admission counselor too is a good way to start that conversation and figure out who you should be talking to and maybe what classes to be focusing on. So that's something that our Office of Admission team can do for you as well. So the next question we have is, how many students generally apply to the School of Nursing, and what can you do to increase your odds of getting admitted?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. The number of students who apply, it does vary from year to year, but I will say that we have room to admit everyone who applies, which is a really exciting thing that I can say. So our students who meet our minimum requirements of B- or better in the prereqs, we will, at least in the past 6 years I've been in the School of Nursing, we have always had more seats in the School of Nursing than PLU applicants. And so we also admit students from outside PLU, such as transfer students. And so we do end up filling our cohort completely. But I would say that if you can meet those minimum requirements, then your chances of getting into the School of Nursing, I'd say, are pretty good. Just because we do have room for everyone who meets those minimums, and we want to admit as many PLU students as possible into the program. And I would say that's your first step into being as competitive as possible, is doing as well in your prerequisite courses as you can. So getting a B- or better in the pre and co-requisite classes, and then A's and B's in your general ed classes would make you really competitive as well. We also focus a lot on the essays. So there's going to be a few essay prompts that you can choose from. And we would recommend completing any optional essay prompts that you see as well. And the essay prompts do change from year to year, but they always revolve around nursing. We will always ask you, why do you want to be a nurse? It might be in different words depending on the prompt, but we do want you to share your story about why nursing is important to you and why you want to pursue it. This year's prompt talks about, or it asks students to discuss an influential point in their lives that that made them consider nursing. And so it's been really great to listen or read, I guess, these stories of students and why they want to do nursing. The other essay prompts might be a little bit more complex than that. And there is one about healthcare inequity. And I think that's a really, really great prompt to be asking students about just some trends in the healthcare field. And I think as well informed about the essay prompt, if you're going to choose to write about that one, is better. Yeah, and so I'd say the essays are kind of the next most important thing after making sure that you have the grades. And then the recommendations are another really big piece. We require 1 faculty recommendation, and then your other recommendation can be from anyone. We'll require 2 total, and you'll have the opportunity to do up to 3. But it is important that your faculty or an employer or whoever you're asking to recommend you can just give us as much information as possible. It would be great if they can speak to your goals to becoming a nurse. It's really nice to read that from a recommender, because that means they know you. And the more they know you, the more they're willing to talk about you and give us a lot of information about your strengths. So really make sure your recommenders know you and understand your goals of nursing, and make sure they're willing to kind of talk about that and let us know how great you are. And then I would say if you can discuss any experiences that you've had in healthcare or working with patients, that would be great too. Like I said, we definitely don't require a CNA or the volunteer hours. And we don't fault students who don't have that. But if you do have any experiences, we definitely want to hear about them. We want you to draw from those experiences in your essays. You can actually include a resume. That's an optional point of the application. So definitely do that if you've got any of those experiences. I hope that helps. I think that's pretty much everything I can say about kind of being competitive for the application.
Yeah, those are a lot of really good tips.
Yeah, that was a lot, sorry.
No, it's great to know all the options and all the opportunities to really make yourself stand out as an applicant. So thank you for that. All right, so we've got just a couple more questions here. What does the simulated and in-person experience, clinical experience look like? Do you have an example of what students might be doing, or what that experience might look like for our students?
Yeah. So I'll highlight the first clinical experience that you have. In Nursing 220, that class does have a clinical component, which is just exciting in itself that you get to start clinical your first semester in nursing. You're going to be working at a skilled nursing home or memory care facility, somewhere in the GERO population. So what that could look like is, you're kind of just getting your feet wet. We're working with patients, but you're going to be practicing a lot of the nursing skills that you've learned in lab. So you will learn all the skills that you need to perform in the clinical setting. You're going to learn those first in a lab setting, a really, really safe setting for you to be able to make mistakes. And that's also where I'll point out that some of the virtual experiences come in. So students are going to be able to do a wide variety of skills in a safe setting before they actually get out to the clinical rotations. And so our virtual clinical settings, it's actually up and coming, because a lot of schools have really advanced, really great virtual labs. And that's not something that we have been exploring in the past few years, but something really exciting that's happening is we're currently working on our new simulation labs, brand new kind of like renovated building just down the street from PLU, like 1 block away in our former bookstore. We're renovating that space, and it's going to be a huge state-of-the-art virtual simulation lab. And so students can practice tons of different nursing skills. They'll start out with checking vitals, doing head-to-toe assessments, tubing, hygiene, different things like that. And they'll be able to practice all those in a safe setting. And so that's kind of an example of what our students would be doing like in clinical and lab. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, great.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Next question. What kind of fees can we expect to be associated with being a nursing major?
Good question. That's a really good question. We want to be really transparent that it does cost a little bit more to be a nursing student than it would for a different type of major at PLU. All schools of nursing do need to charge different lab fees, clinical placement fees, things like that in order to run a school of nursing, just because it's more expensive and it costs a lot more to operate a school of nursing than a different major. And so students should plan on those different fees. What we do is we try to wrap as many fees as possible into one nursing program fee. And that does vary from year to year. I think right now it's about $500 a semester, but that is included. Students can pay for their fees with their tuition and financial aid, correct, Amanda?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Anything that is directly billed by PLU, yes.
Perfect. And that's one reason we do that, so that students can use their financial aid to cover the fees. Some other things that students can anticipate paying for would be their scrub uniforms. You can see that, oh, I guess I kept this picture up for a reason. You can see that our students are wearing PLU uniforms while they're out in clinical. They're embroidered with PLU logo. All the different schools and students you're going to see out at clinical do have a specific color of uniform, so you can differentiate them. So we will ask you to buy 1 or 2 sets of scrubs to wear out at clinical. You also will be responsible for maintaining health requirements and health clearance in order to set foot in your clinical agencies. And that means you're going to have all of your vaccines up to date. And that does cost a little bit of money depending on your insurance or depending on your immunization history. You will need a CPR class, for example, as well. And that usually costs about $50. Those are kind of the major things that students have to pay for that are coming to mind. Students definitely do have to have reliable transportation to their clinical sites as well. So it is important to plan on having a car. I would say in your junior and senior year. You can get by without a car for the freshman and sophomore year. Plus you'll be in a clinical group and you can do a lot of carpooling. But it's really, really important that you can get to your clinical area on time for your assigned shifts.
Okay, great. Well, I think we're going to go into our final question here.
Okay.
And what kind of academic support is there for nursing students?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. I talked about our advising support, which I would wrap up into academic support. Students are required to check in with their advisors from time to time and talk about their academic progression and how classes are going. So I'd say that's kind of the first and most readily utilized source of academic support is going to your advisors. The other thing I'll say about that is that we've got such a small cohort relatively to other nursing programs and other universities. At 48 students in your class, your professors definitely know you, and they do notice if students, when and if students start struggling in certain areas. And as an advisor, I see it all the time where students will be contacted by their professor if they notice that they're struggling. And so I think that's a really important thing to think about in terms of academic support, is that the professor does know you and they notice you and they will help you as much as they can when you're struggling in a class. Yeah. PLU has an academic assistance program or a tutoring program, and they have tutors from all different majors, all academic areas at PLU, and we do have 2 specific fully dedicated nursing tutors in that academic assistance center, and they are very well utilized as well, because our nursing classes can be tough. So I'm glad you asked that question. There's a ton of academic support for students at PLU, and it does seem tough at times, and our students really rely on each other to get through some of those hard classes. They will form study groups and network with each other and help each other succeed. So it's a really great community environment to foster everyone being successful.
Great. All right. Well, if anybody thinks of any more questions specifically about the nursing program, what's the best way to send those in or reach out?
Yeah, good question. So I would start with your admission counselor. Wouldn't you say? I think that's the best place to start, because our admission counselors know a ton about the School of Nursing. They know a lot about the admission process and about the different things you can pursue along with nursing, and how nursing looks along with really well-rounded 4-year plan at PLU. But if your admission counselor can't answer a question, or if you would like to contact me directly, that's totally fine. I would say use that nurse@plu.edu email if you do have nursing specific questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. That email is being monitored during this time while we're all at home. So we'll definitely get back to you with questions.
Great, thanks so much. Well, that wraps up our nursing information session for today. Do plan to join us for our next session at 2 o'clock today to talk about financial aid. And if you're deciding between nursing or maybe thinking a pre-med pathway and you're not quite sure what direction you want to go yet, we also have a session tomorrow morning focusing on our pre-health sciences programs at 10 a.m. So financial aid at 2 o'clock this afternoon, pre-health sciences at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And just let us know if there's anything else that we can answer for you in the meantime. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.